Online art festival recently caught up with acclaimed sculptor Mike Greenfield. Greenfield is a master of stone and bronze sculptures, and his artwork consists entirely of original pieces. Through his stunning sculptures, Greenfield has captured the attention of art collectors across the Southwest. His ability to breathe life into inanimate materials is nothing short of extraordinary. We asked Mike to tell us a little bit about how he got started with stone and bronze sculpture.
A lot of people that come up to my booth will tell me, I can't draw a stick figure. Well, when I was a kid, that was me. Although I was interested in art, I really wasn't very good at it. So one year I took a class from one of the art teachers at the high school where I was working, and that started me off on drawing. And I went from pencil to pen and ink to watercolor. And then I still wasn't real happy with what I was producing because my dimensions were always kind of messed up. So I decided to try three-dimensional art. And so I took a bronzing class at South Lake Tahoe Community College, one of the few foundries in California, or one of the few colleges in California with a foundry. And so I took that class and found out that actually I am better, my brain works better in 3 dimensions than it does in 2. 2 dimensions, I still have to kind of grid out what I'm drawing. 3 dimensions, I can just kind of do it and it works. So that brought me to bronzing, and then I made a stone and bronze piece for a friend just out of a whim. And that started my whole stone and bronze phase of my career. And basically that's all I do anymore, stone and bronze.
During our interview with Mike, he revealed that choosing the right stone is one of the most critical parts of his creative process. He explained that he embarks on a journey of discovery with each stone, patiently waiting for the sculpture within it to reveal itself. Mike also shared that he carefully considers how to complement the unique characteristics of each stone with appropriate bronze components to complete his vision.
Well, the first thing in getting a new sculpture is to find the stone. And what draws us to stone is the color of the stone, not necessarily the shape, because once I get the stone home and I can look at it and think about it, I can make it about any shape I want to make it. So it's the color and the texture and the beauty of the stone that kind of starts the whole process. And once I start into it, I'll carve and cut and shape the stone to get it what I think it should be. Then I'll start to polish it. And once I get the top fixed, I know what the top's going to be, then I can start working on top with wax. And I build the top out of wax, and then the wax we take to a foundry. They make me a bronze that I then attach to that stone. So each stone has its own particular one-of-a-kind bronze attached to it.
Another noteworthy aspect of Mike's artistry is that all of his sculptures are original pieces. Each one is a unique work of art that captures the essence of the stone and the artist's creative vision. Mike takes great pride in knowing that his artwork is appreciated by art collectors around the world. He especially loves hearing stories from customers about how their house guests are drawn to the uniqueness of each piece, which speaks to the lasting impression that Mike's sculptures leave on those who view them.
You will not find, we've been doing this for almost 20 years now. And we do 10, 15, sometimes once in a while 20 shows a year. And in 20 years, we've never found anybody that does what I do. It just doesn't happen. There are people that work with stone, there are people that work with bronze, but there's nobody that we've come across that puts both elements together to make figures like I do. They'll come in, they'll say, we have a lot of art in our house. And it's interesting because when people walk into our house for the first time, they always go to your piece. And we have all this other art, but they always go to your piece. And why? It's because when you look at it, it's one of a kind. Nobody really has seen it unless they've been to the shows and seen my work. They don't understand it, so you have to kind of explain to them what they're looking at. So that's the kind of feedback we get. We love our art, and people are drawn to it all the time.
During our interview, we had the pleasure of asking Mike about his favorite piece of art. He revealed to us that his favorite piece was also his greatest challenge. The process of creating this sculpture was a labor of love that tested Mike's skills as a sculptor and his perseverance as an artist.
Probably one of the most difficult pieces I made was about a 5 foot tall, 600-pound agate jasper stone that I got out in the desert near Congress here in Arizona. When I got the stone, on both sides of the stone was sediment, so I had to first remove the sediment from one side, then start to carve the stone. And because it was 600 pounds and as tall as it was, I had to lay it down in order to work on it. And I had to use my big saw, 16-inch blade on my saw. And so I'm bent over working on this thing, and I can only work on it about half an hour at a time. I have to stop. I just can't keep going. So it took me a long time to actually carve the front of that stone. Then the next big problem was, how do you hold a 600-pound stone that's probably a 1.5 foot wide, maybe 8 inches deep, and this tall? How do you keep that from falling over? Well, the guy that was doing my chasing on my bronze, he was also an ex-blacksmith, and we actually designed a base to fit this stone into. But because I couldn't get the stone to him, I had to make a template of where I wanted the base to fit on the stone. So he made me the base. I get it home, I start to put the stone in it, and it won't go. And I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do? Eventually, as we stood the stone up, got it up on it, it just, boom, popped right down into the base, and it hasn't moved since. It's stayed there. And then, of course, making the top of the stone, it's a pretty good size head, probably close to a human size head, and that was difficult also. That was probably my most challenging piece that I've worked on.
So what's Mike's advice to aspiring professional artists? He stresses the importance of refining your craft and being the best at what you do. He also shares that becoming a full-time artist requires hard work and dedication for those hoping to make a full-time career out of it.
If you're going to make a living doing this, you better be really good and be able to sell a lot. And you have to work. You're going to have to work 30 to 40 weekends a year if you really want to make a living doing this. We don't make a living doing this. I mean, this is after I've retired, and this is a second job for me, actually. So we're not dependent on the income from my art in order to make a living. And if you are going to be dependent on that, you better really research your product, and you better be committed to really get out there and work hard, because it takes a lot of work.
We hope you've enjoyed this inside look at the artistry of Mike Greenfield, a truly talented sculptor whose artwork captures the essence of each stone with the artist's creative vision. We're grateful to Mike for sharing his journey with us and providing us with insights into his creative process. Thanks for watching. And remember, if you'd like to purchase one of Mike Greenfield's stone and bronze sculptures, you can take a look at what's available at onlineartfestival.com.